Welcome to this tutorial on avoiding functions with side effects in C#. As a developer, it is important to understand the concept of side effects and how to minimize them in your code. In this tutorial, we will discuss what side effects are, why they are generally considered a bad practice, and how to minimize them in your code. A function produces a side effect when it does something other than take in a value and return another value or values. Some examples of side effects include writing to a file, modifying a global variable, or interacting with external resources. One way to minimize side effects is to centralize them in a single function or service. By following these best practices, you can make your program easier to understand and maintain, leading to greater overall satisfaction as a programmer. In the next section, we will look at an example of a function with a side effect, and how we can modify it to minimize the side effect and improve the overall structure of our code. So stay tuned to learn more about avoiding functions with side effects in C#. As a developer, you should always avoid writing functions with side effects. A function is said to produce a side effect when it does something other than take in a value and return another value or values. Some examples of side effects include writing to a file or modifying a global variable. While it is necessary to have side effects in some cases, such as writing to a file, it is important to centralize these actions. Instead of having multiple functions or classes that write to the same file, it is better to have a single service that handles all writing. This helps to avoid common issues like uncontrolled state sharing between objects, the use of mutable data types that can be modified by any part of the program, and a lack of centralization for side effects. By following these best practices, you can make your program easier to understand and maintain, leading to greater overall satisfaction as a programmer. In the bad example, the function has a side effect of writing to the file textfile_count.txt. This side effect is separate from the function's primary purpose, which is to return the number of text files in the specified folder. It is generally a good practice to avoid this kind of side effects. In the better version, the countTextFiles function no longer has a side effect of writing to a file. Instead, the count is written to a file using the centralized write-to-file function from the FileUtility class. This can make the program easier to understand and maintain, as the logic for writing to files is centralized in a single location. Now let's get to the takeaways. Here are the most important things to remember from this tutorial and apply in practice to write better code. It is generally a good practice to avoid writing functions with side effects. Side effects are actions that a function performs in addition to returning a value, such as writing to a file or modifying a global variable. To minimize side effects, it is important to centralize them in a single function or service. This can help to avoid issues like uncontrolled state sharing and the use of mutable data types. By following these best practices, you can make your code easier to understand, maintain, and test, leading to greater overall satisfaction as a programmer.